Chilling up in the kingdom, chilling with Yahweh Shai and all the brothers and the sisters, cooling out, having fun, drinking yayan with Yahweh Shai up in the kingdom, yeah.
Who are we? It's real. That who are we is real. Can't be you.
Israel.
Who's the power?
Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai's the power.
Yeah. Who's the power?
Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai's the
Israel.
Shalom.
We are ISBHBK, the Israelite School of Biblical History and Practical Knowledge. We are located here in Houston at 231 FM 1092, Stafford, Texas, 77477. The sisters can put the class time and dates for all our school locations. We got a school in Virginia, 2610 Granby Street, Norfolk, Virginia. Rochester, New York, with Priest Zionala at 1600 Lau Ave, Suite 1A, Rochester, New York. And then a school in San Antonio, 4444 Walden Road, Suite 201. Again, the sisters can put the class time and days. How to watch us? Check us out on YouTube, Blog Talk Radio. So for Blog Talk Radio, we got Priest Mashaba, blogtalkradio.com / Mashaba at Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Other channels you want to definitely check out, please like, share, and subscribe. ISBHBK Houston, ISBHBK Norfolk, Virginia, ISBHBK Rochester. We got the kids class that the sister takes care of on Sundays. Kids class Sundays at 1 p.m. Definitely, if you are located in the Houston area, come by. If you want your children to be established in the foundation of the truth, Black, Hispanic, Native Americans, we are Israel. Check us out, kids class. Another reminder, please, for the brothers, for the families that are going to be getting their Passover garments, the link is going to be in the description. The final payment for the 2023 Passover garment is due November 30th. So if you haven't got it in, please reach out, please communicate. The sisters are going to need that to start on these beautiful garments that we're going to have for this Passover coming up. The feast that we got coming up is the Feast of Lights, Hanukkah. The date for that is Sunday, December 18th through December 25th. So if you are in the surrounding area during these times and you want to partake, congregate, unify, come through. Come check out a class. Some businesses that we have that if you want to support, we do got Israel wear, right? Again, the sister's going to have the flyer on the screen. Israel wear is accepting all orders. They're going to be doing the garments soon, so.
Yeah, I guess up until November the 10th.
November the 10th.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, they'll let y'all know when they're going to pause those orders. Yeah.
Yeah, so for Israel wear, if you want to get your t-shirt game fringed up, if you want to get some headbands, we do got some subscriptions, $35 for the shirt, $75 for the headband and the shirt. Israel wear at icebasebk.com / fringed up. So for the aspiring priests in Virginia, New York, and here in Houston, we do got Hebrew Academy. Virginia and Rochester, Hebrew Academy is every Monday, and here in Houston is every Tuesday. So check us out on that too. If you need to get in contact with any of the priests, Priest Kazaki and Priest Kwarazal, the numbers are going to be on the screen. During class, please text only. Other than that, they will be ready for you. Sweet Ambiance is another one of our business ventures. If you want to get your smell game up, 100% orgánico aceite, right? Go ahead and check us out at Sweet Ambiance at www.sweetambiance.com. We have another business. It is Chosen Creations. We are on Etsy at chosencreations.com. Anything custom as far as like any engraved jewelry, Ten Commandment signs, Chosen Creations on Etsy. Check that out. Donations. The sister is going to put all the information for the Wells Fargo, the Cash App, the Zelle. Please, if you have it in your spirit, in your heart, to send in any books, podcasts, highlighters, papers, vacuums, all that stuff. We need it for all our schools. Paint. We want to paint the schools. If you want to go ahead and support, listen, the information is going to be there for the donations. That is the end of our announcements.
Mm-hmm. How's everybody feeling? I'm gonna apologize right now for what sounds like a smoker's cough. I'm getting over my little sickness, so I just got a little bit of a lingering cough. So just bear with me. We're gonna get through this class, have a little fun. Did you put the title? Yeah. So y'all can title this class the Hardship of the Shepherd. And really, that's what we want to talk about. Nothing super deep, nothing incredibly crazy. But I do want to talk to y'all about, and I'm talking about an actual shepherd. We're going to talk about like actual men that move animals from one area to another.
Right.
Right? And it's highly important because if you look at the majority of the great men in the scriptures, they were all what? They were all shepherds, right? So who can name me one or two? David, right? Who else? There's plenty to choose from, right? We got David, right? Well-known, youngest son, keeper of the sheep.
Like an actual shepherd?
Yeah, in the scriptures, yeah.
Okay, my mind's blank.
Okay, that's fine.
Jacob.
We got Jacob, right? Remember he worked with Laban?
Yeah.
He worked with Laban. He was the keeper of his flock, right? Who else? Come on, think back into Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Adam? Oh, well, he was like...
He had a son,
Abel?
right? Okay, so Abel was a shepherd or a keeper of flock, right? Scriptures tell you about Abel. Who else? Come on. There's think post flood. What? Moses. That's pre-flood, but Moses, right? He kept Jethro's flock, right? Who else? Think post flood or after the flood.
El Jefe.
El Jefe, right?
Yeah,
You went too far. But
was it Abraham?
yeah, Abraham, right? He had flocks. Who was with Abraham? Lot. He was a herdsman. He had flocks, right? Who can give me a prophet in the Old Testament that was a one of the prophets? He was a shepherd. Da, na, 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 na. Who?
Elijah?
No.
He wasn't.
We can look. He might have been. I don't have him down, but he might have been. What you got to prove it? Elijah. What you got to prove it? Who else? I'll give y'all one. Amos, he was a shepherd. Right? Amos was a shepherd. Who else? There's one main guy that we're missing also. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Who else? One main guy that kept his father's flock. Who?
Was it Saul?
No. Too far into history. Too far in the future. Kept his father's flock, coat of many colors.
Oh, Joseph.
Brother was hating. Joseph, right?
I was going to say Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph was a keeper of the flock. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this out is because when you look at these, I mean, like all the men that we named, right? All the men that we named. When you go through the scriptures and you look at their character in the scripture, you could say, well, man, this cat was dependable, reliable, trustworthy, selfless, blameless, right? All these men, from Abel all the way down, right? So I want to kind of go through the life of a shepherd, like a real life shepherd, what they do, what they have, you know, what their day-to-day life consists of, or what it would have consisted of at that time. And even now, you still got shepherds in the Middle East now that still live that life, that they, you know, that identity that they stole from us, right? But they still shepherd sheep back and forth. So I kind of want to highlight that life, and it's going to lead into the next class that I want to do. I won't tell y'all yet, but it's going to lead into this next class. So go to 1 Peter's 5 and verse 2. And this is one of our favorite scriptures that we harp on a lot, bring out a lot for the brothers, right? Trying to implore the brothers of the school, of the camps, to, you know, when they're undertaking the oversight of their families, of their duties, you know, this scripture right here kind of points out how to do it and what reasoning. So read that for us.
Book of 1 Peter, chapter 5, verse 2.
Right.
Feed the flock of the Most High,
Right.
which is among you,
Go ahead.
taking the oversight thereof.
Right. Taking the what?
The oversight.
Right. Taking the oversight. So, and I believe we went over this. We kind of went through this a few weeks ago. We were talking about like being a superintendent, right? Where you know every aspect, like a superintendent or the super, right? He runs that building. He knows every aspect of a building, what's broken, what needs to be fixed, if it's clean, if it's dirty, the elevator works. He knows everything about that building, right? Who's running around on the rooftop, who's in the basement, if the trash needs to be taken out. He knows all the different aspects because he's the superintendent. He is the man that has to be on top of or taking the oversight of that building. Now, translate that same thought process to a shepherd. The Bible tells a shepherd that he got to take the oversight. He has to be the overseer of said flock, right? Of his sheep, of his goats. He has to oversee the entire. It doesn't matter how many he has. He can't sit back and go, oh, I got 1,000. It's too much. Whether you got 3,000 or 5,000. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be there to oversee the flock, right? Go ahead.
Taking the oversight thereof.
Right.
Not by constraint.
Not by constraint, right?
But willingly.
Right. See, and he is telling us that the man that's trying to lead and take the oversight, he can't be doing it through constraint. He can't be made to lead. You ever know that person that's made to do a job, but they really don't want to do it? What tends to happen? What happens on the job? They screw up. They don't have that care, right, to do the job. Things start to go bad. Oh well, I'm just, it ain't my sheep. You know, it ain't my flock. And we see examples of that in the scriptures also with neglectful men and women in the scriptures, where they were set in the care of something, and because it wasn't necessarily their product or their talent, right? We talk about the man with the talents. The lazy dude buried one he just buried his one that he got, he buried it. But the diligent, right? What do? They flipped them. You see that? So it's telling us not to be in the mind of the man that buried the talent and didn't multiply the talent. We got to be in the mind of the diligent. We can't be in that slothful mind. A shepherd couldn't be slothful, right? He couldn't be out there because somebody was making him do it. He wouldn't be effective. He wouldn't be an effective shepherd because the sheep need the shepherd. But guess what? The shepherd needs the sheep. It's a hand-in-hand type of relationship. I'm going to tell you one thing about sheep. Sheep are literally, they have zero defense mechanism when it comes to predatory animals. So what sheep will do is, let's say a sheep gets lost, right? Instead of like how a dog will get lost, find his way home.
Yeah.
A sheep will just baa. He'll cry out, cry out, cry out. He'll get tired of crying. He'll just stop and sit. Now, how does that help? How does that help the sheep? Doesn't, right? Makes them. It's one of the most vulnerable animals in existence. Can't run fast. Not very strong. Terrible eyesight. Right? So it can't defend itself from any attack. You ain't never see a sheep fend off a wolf. I've never seen a video. I ain't never seen no sheep get lucky. Right? So the sheep is very, very vulnerable to any sort of predatory attack. It's also vulnerable to itself because they'll just go astray and just walk off a cliff. Yeah. Right? They'll just walk and walk and walk. Oh, but I don't see the cliff. Right? Now, you know the one thing about sheep, when I was looking into it, and you look at, like, they talk about, like, evolution, right? Sheep is the one animal that if you believe in evolution, that animal shows you that there's no evolution. Ooh. Because sheep are the same way they were back then, back in the biblical times, back in Abel's time, right? Where you can just walk up to them and kill them. They get lost, they'll sit there. They're the same now as they were back then. Why am I bringing that up? Well, if evolution, they would have evolved into more defensive animals where they can protect themselves. But what does it show you about sheep from the beginning of time? What do they always need for their survival?
Shepherd.
They always needed a shepherd. Yeah. Sheep from the beginning of time. From the inception of time, sheep always needed man to be there. Think about it. How does a sheep lose its fur? Its wool. You got to do what?
Cut the hair.
Right. It don't fall off. It don't shed. It don't shed. Somebody got to come and shear that hair off. Sheep don't shed like dogs and like have this constant shedding where all of a sudden the hair stays at a nice short length. No, that hair starts getting matted. That sheep gets overweight with the hair, and guess what it does? Falls down, sits, and dies. Somebody got to come shave that sheep, shear him up, clean him up so he can move around. So think about it. If man wasn't around to tend the sheep would be extinct a long time ago. Wow. So there's a relationship between the shepherd and the sheep. And can man exist without sheep? Hell yeah. But there's a reason why the Most High put shepherd and sheep, this thing that's so dependent on man, in man's care. So finish up 1 Peter 5:2.
Not by constraint,
right?
But willingly.
Right. Not by constraint, but willingly. The shepherd had to be willing. This man had to be willing to undertake the flock. Now, one key thing I was looking into, just doing a little bit of research on the topic. When you look at all the men that we've talked about, what's the correlation between David, Amos, Joseph, Abel, Isaac, Jacob? What was the correlation? Well, when you look at it, David was the youngest son. He had other brothers, right? Joseph was the youngest son, right? Isaac was the youngest son. We know Ishmael got ran off, right? But when you look at this job, it was handed down to the youngest male in the family. Why? So the older men graduated and did other things. They helped out dad with harvesting and gathering corn and you know, all the other tasks that we had to do. But that shepherding was left to the young boy, the young man, the young teen. Because when you look at what a shepherd had to do day to day, this was literally a character building job. That's it. This job was to build character, to build patience, long suffering, diligence, right? That if that cattle represented your livestock, this job literally showed men how to build wealth from a young boy, from 12, maybe even younger. You out there in that field with those sheep. David was running around with the sheep. What was he? 16, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. His brother was at war. What was he doing? Tending the sheep as the younger brother. Why? Because they did their time in the field. Now it's your time. Just like the 12, right? They did their time. Now Joseph, it's your time. You the youngest. Get out there, right? Get out there and handle business, but really get out there and develop these characteristics that you're going to need, that you're going to learn from being a shepherd to now being able to be a husband, a husbandman, a brother, right? These things, these characteristics, the watching, the not doing things out of constraint, not doing things for what? Read on.
Not for filthy lucre.
Right, not for gain, filthy lucre, dirty reasons. All these characteristics were developed in the men early. So when they became, so you can only imagine when a man was 40, 50 years old, the character that was built in him. Think about it. Why did the Most High pull Moses up out of Egypt and then make him a shepherd? Was that a coinkydink? Nah. That was by design, because Moses had to learn a few things that the other great men learned in being a shepherd. Y'all see this? There were things that Moses had to learn. Well, we're going to read about it. But just imagine, y'all ever watch like Discovery Channel or Nature Channel? And you see these cats out there with the sheep. They ain't got no video games, no cell phones, right? They ain't got no water bag, no food stalls. It's just him, a cane, a damn robe, and the elements, right? And all he's doing, making noises, calling, right? He's right making these weird little noises to do what? To get his sheep to, nope, come on, not, come on, right? Developing patience, developing these, and some men do it. They shepherd for their whole lives, man. They shepherd for their whole lives, but a lot of the men that we look at in our history, the Most High used that as a platform to see, wait a minute, if you can tend to some sheep, then you can lead the nation. If you can hold down a few little sheep and not one is lost, David. Oh, wait, oh, you want to go fight for one? Oh, damn. Fighting bears and lions. Oh, okay. So it's nothing for you to go fight a Philistine. Think about it. What was already developed in David where he was like, you just a man. I already fought a bear. I already fought a lion. I've already killed things protecting my livelihood, the livelihood of my family. So how much now more the livelihood of the nation? You see that? So the shepherding, you couldn't be constrained to do it. You couldn't be out there as a young boy like, what's wrong, son? I want to go play Fortnite. Fortnite? Nigga, you better go. You better go talk to Bambi. Right? Them dudes is hungry. Fortnite? Nah. Video games? Nope. But what was it supposed to build also in a young man into a man? Selflessness. Right. Taking away the me factor and saying, you know what? I got to hold this down for my family. I'm doing this for the family. I'm doing this for my father. I'm honoring my mother, my father, by doing this job. And I'm going to do it with my whole heart. I'm going to do it with love and with care.
Right.
Because the sheep needed love and care. Believe it or not, they seem like dumb animals, right? As docile and as non-combative as they are, they're highly intelligent. They're highly intelligent animals that need love, need care, need compassion. Sheep are predisposed to be herding animals. So if a sheep is separated from the flock for too long, guess what it gets? Guess what it becomes?
Right.
Well, that's automatic. But before it becomes prey, before he realizes, like, damn, I'm about to get ate, guess what he's sitting there doing the whole time? He's depressed. Mm-hmm. Just like when we separate from the flock for too long, and you start to get into your mode of, oh man, woe is me. Sheep do the same thing. They're automatically a herding animal. They're a community animal. Mm-hmm. But isn't that what the Most High tries to impress on us? Unify, forsaking not the assembly. Right? So there's a correlation. Shepherd, sheep, man. Mm-hmm. Right? Read on.
Not for filthy lucre.
Right?
But of a ready mind.
Go ahead.
Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being ensamples to the flock.
And we know that this verse, Peter, goes into that spiritual shepherd. But I wanted to start here because it's only fitting. When we talk about this shepherd, we got to start here, man. We got to talk about, yes, the spiritual, right? We're going to always begin spiritual. We're going to dip into that carnal shepherd. But, man, when you look at the characteristics and the traits, it's hand in hand. You have to be in this mind before you could undertake that job. Right? Did you finish it? Go ahead.
And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away.
Right, and remember, we're just there's levels to the shepherdship. You got shepherds and you got the chief shepherd. The chief shepherd, he has the account for all things that happen. So when you look at Jacob, Jacob was a chief shepherd, where if the other servants were out dealing with the sheep that day and something happened, guess who it fell on? Fell on Jacob, because he was the chief shepherd. He was the superintendent. He was the overseer of all the other shepherds for Laban. Remember, Laban had servants that helped keep the flock too. It wasn't just Jacob, but Jacob was still, he was in charge if it was good, and he took the blame if it went bad. What does that sound like? Doesn't that sound like any type of leadership? Right? When it's doing good, hip hip hooray. When it's bad, you getting the blame. Right? But being this shepherd, that was supposed to teach you that. That was supposed to teach you these leadership characteristics. Right? So from there, I want you to go to Acts 20 and verse 28.
Can I bring something out real quick?
Yeah.
So, are y'all familiar with the FFA? Like in high school and stuff like that?
Future Farmers of America.
That's it. Future Farmers.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
So I grew up, that's real big. Right? I'm big out here too. But just on like the character building, the model for FFA is learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, and living to serve. So I bring this out though too, just on the carnal of what the future farmers of America do, but in the Bible, like, you know, our people did that, right? And it's only fitting just going off of what Priest Carter's up is saying, building the character, building the discipline, building the integrity, and everything like that. I mean, I never was in Future Farmers of America, but just speaking on this shepherding, that was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, dang, I know a few people that were in the FFA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we go to the fairs. When you go to the fairs and you got the kids there, they're like, oh, I show an animal. I'm like, oh, what you got? Oh, I got a horse, or I got a bull, or I got a pig. And then I'm like, so I asked them, I'm like, so how many days you got to show up? They got to show up like 4 days a week to go do what? Clean, feed, groom the animal. So it's a lot of work in just one animal. And and obviously that's a show animal, right? They got to groom them up. They got to make them look real good. But just imagine having 500 sheep, a flock of 500, a flock of 20, 10 sheep, 5. Okay, let's make it easy. I'll give you 3. 3 sheep, fully grown, ready to listen. Still ain't going to be easy. I'm going to show you. Go to Acts 20 and 28.
Book of Acts, chapter 20, verse 28.
Go ahead.
Take heed, therefore, unto yourselves,
Right,
and to all the flock,
right.
over the which the Holy Ghost hath made you overseers.
Right, and what does the Holy Ghost give us to oversee the flock with? Is it just a cane and some weird sheep calls? Nah, right? What is the Holy Spirit? Wisdom, knowledge, understanding, righteous judgment, quick conceit, right? Isaiah 11 and 1 down, right? The Holy Spirit gives us the insight to be able to assess things and look at things. These are all things that a regular shepherd needs. He got to use wisdom when guiding his flock. He got to use understanding. He got to understand his flock, right? He has to have compassion, like all these different things, and we're going to go over them. But he has to have all these character insights through the Holy Spirit, through wisdom, to be able to guide this flock date. And it's not just, we about to guide the flock once a month. This is a day-to-day thing. It's an everyday thing, right? So did you finish it? Go ahead.
To feed the church of the Most High, which he hath purchased with his own blood.
Right. The accountability of the flock, right? The flock is purchased with the blood of Yahweh Shai. And now here you go, shepherd. Now you're liable for that. Damn, that's a heavy weight to bear. So you got to move in a certain spirit. You got to move with the spirit of wisdom and knowledge and understanding to guide the flock, to be a good shepherd and not just a hireling. And we'll talk about that. So let's talk about it real quick. So I want to talk about just a shepherd's equipment. So you can write down equipment. What did a shepherd have? What did a shepherd have? Who can tell me one or two things? Basic what they had. From just a shepherd. Just think about a shepherd. What did he have? What's the main thing you always see? A staff, right? He got his little staff curved at the end. Now what was the staff for? Right, to guide the sheep into line, right? Okay. So he had his staff. What else did a shepherd have?
Did he have a horn?
No, he didn't need one. No, he didn't need no horn. They heard his voice.
Yeah.
Come on, think about being out in the elements. If I'm about to go out there with the sheep, and I gotta walk with these sheep from one pasture to another, what do I gotta have with me? Come on, think about the scriptures. Think about the scriptures. A staff?
A garment.
Right, okay, what kind of garment? You're right. What's it called? It's called a mantle. Right? Remember when Elijah threw his mantle on Elisha? It was a coat that was usually made out of what? Think about the elements. If I'm walking with sheep, remember the elements don't affect the sheep. The sheep can be in the cold. They could be in the rain. Why? What do they have? What's one thing that the sheep have that humans don't have? That thick wool. So what do? Well, let me kill a sheep, eat them, right? And you make a wool jacket out of that. So they would have a jacket, some type of garment that was well insulated for weather, right? Because I got to be out in them elements. So I got my staff. Guess what else they had? They had a rod. The staff was the long boy. the rod was a little bit shorter, right? And the rod was also to help guide, move the animals. The staff was more to help them if they had to climb. But they had a rod, they had a mantle, they had something called a scrip, right? A scrip. You know what a scrip is? It's a leather bag that they would put food in for a journey, right? If they were just going out to pasture and I'm gonna be out for a couple of hours, throw a little snack in there, right? In the scrip. So they had the mantle, the scrip, the staff, a rod. In some cases, they had to bring a tent. They had to bring a tent with them. Inside, and we're gonna go through the scriptures. I got all the scriptures. Also, some shepherds had dogs. We forget about Job. Right? Job had a lot of cattle, but he also had dogs to help him with those cattle and with those sheep. Right? So, watch, I'll read this real quick. The shepherd's equipment consisted of the following articles: a mantle made of sheepskin with fleece on it, the sheep's fur, a scrip or a wallet containing a small amount of food, a rod, and a staff. Now think about it. What else was the rod and the staff for? What?
To protect the animal, like to beat the wolves or something.
Well, before he had to protect the animals, he had to have protection for himself. The shepherd had to keep, that was his weapon.
Right.
That staff and that rod that was doubled as a weapon, because being out there in them elements, yes, you got to fight off robbers. We're going to talk about that. You got to fight off attacks from wild animals. We're going to talk about that. So this job of a shepherd, it wasn't like, oh, we're just walking with the lambs out in the field and everything's all cozy. Hell nah. People was coming to steal your livestock. You had animals you had to literally fight off. David, right, had to fight off. But he said he grabbed him by the neck, by the beard, right? He wasn't using no staff. See, David was a young man, so he had all the energy, right? You grab a lion by the beard and smote him. Bro, what type of man are you, right? David was a different type of dude.
Come. That's like walking around, like they say, walking around here with gasoline draws on. Man.
Basically.
You walk around with all this bait, all this food, this slide stocking, like moths.
Yeah, you just walking around like that. He ain't gonna. He got 100 sheep. Man, he ain't gonna notice he ain't gonna trip if we take one.
Yeah.
Right? Hell no, he's a righteous man is gonna trip. He's not gonna let you take one. So the shepherd couldn't be no punk, right? It wasn't just that a rod and a staff, but he got to have a level of fearlessness, right? A level of courage in him to go out day and night, to go out day to day with his flock. As soon as a shepherd woke up, his day was dedicated to his flock. Now, I'll give you this. Think about it. Let's say we're in a region where there's no watering for the animals. Guess what we got to go do, little sheepy? We got to go find it. Right? So, if the flock needs to be watered at 12, and it's the third hour of the day, 9, and I know that, oh man, there ain't no water for like 3-4 hours. We got to get to walking. So they can walk 3-4 hours before they even get to the water. But guess what the sheep are doing the whole time? They don't give a damn about that. They thirsty. They want to eat and they thirsty, right? And it depends on the time of the year is how far of a journey you had to make to go get water or to go get fresh grass or even dry grass. If it snowed, what are they eating? Nothing. You got to walk them to the other side of a mountain or in a valley or wherever the snow wasn't for them to get fresh grass. Or sometimes shepherd had to climb trees, cut branches down for the sheep to eat and the goat to eat. So if there wasn't readily foraging food, he got to go make something happen. If there wasn't a well where he lived, he had to go find water. Now you understand why Jacob dug all those wells? Because there was no water where they were. So let me dig a well here, flock. Dig a well here for the flock. Dig a well here for the flock. But now you understand why Abraham and Lot's herdsmen fought and strove. What were they fighting over? Well, water and land. But no, my herd gotta drink, homie. My herd gotta eat, right? And it wasn't like when you understand the job of the shepherd, they were just looking out for the flock. They weren't even looking out really for themselves. It was really, I gotta protect these sheep. This is my job. So they end up striving because one is trying to outperform the other. It's almost like a competition where, survival of the fittest type thing. Y'all see that? So they took this job serious where now I'm going to war with you over this little patch of grass because my sheep need to eat too. I'm going to war with you over this watering hole because my sheep need to drink. It's 12 o'clock. They thirsty. We done took a 3-hour walk, right? So we got to get it. So the job was very intense when it came to the taking care of the sheep, right? Go to 1 Samuel 17 and 40. Go to 1 Samuel 17 and 40. Even when David went out to war to go fight Goliath, guess what he had with him? Read, check this out. Remember when Saul gave him his armor? And he said, nah, I ain't gonna wear that. I haven't proved it yet. But what did he have? You know what he proved? He had his shepherd's apparel. He had his shepherd's tools with him. Read verse 39.
1 Samuel,
right?
Chapter 17, verse 39.
Go ahead.
And David girded his sword upon his armor. And he essayed to go, for he had not proved it.
Right.
And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with thee.
Right.
For I have not proved them.
Go ahead.
And David put them off.
Right. So Saul gave David his armor like, you could use these. David was like, man, I'm not familiar with these weapons. But I know what I am familiar with. Read.
And he took his staff in his hand.
Right. He took his what?
His staff.
He took his staff. Go ahead.
In his hand.
Go ahead.
And chose him 5 smooth stones.
And he took it because another weapon or another instrument of a shepherd was a sling. They carried a slingshot around. So he took them some smooth stones. Go ahead.
Out of the brook.
Read.
And put them in a shepherd's bag.
He put them where?
In a shepherd's bag.
What do they call the shepherd's bag? Go ahead.
Which he had.
Right.
Even in a scrip.
You see that? They call the shepherd's bag a scrip. In Yahushai's time when he said, take no purse or no scrip. Take no money, no food. Right. Go ahead, read on.
And his sling was in his hand.
Go ahead.
And he drew near to the Philistine.
Right, you see that? So, just to show what was David familiar with? Instruments of a shepherd, man. He had a sling, his shepherd bag. He threw some rocks up in there, and he's like, let's go to work. Right? But what am I trying to show y'all? That the basic tools of the tools of a shepherd were basic. Basic. He didn't need much to defend himself. He didn't need much to get around. Right? Just throw me on a jacket. Let me get a little tent I can move around with. A bag, throw some food, something to drink, keep a little energy going, and we good. You see that? Go from there, go to Isaiah 38 and verse 12. Now the tent came in handy if the shepherd had to go far from home. You know, this back in them days, man. Little 6-hour walk was light work. You know what you gotta watch? You gotta watch those shepherds that shepherd the sheep in the what mountains are those over there? Like the Tibetan mountains, those Tibetan monks. Bro, they getting sheep and goats through mountains. I'm talking about through steep cliffs where rocks, and you step, the rock is falling and sheep just fall. But the sheep, they're skilled climbers. These sheep out there in that region, they're skilled mountain climbers. So the one that might die is the shepherd. The sheep know what they're doing. The shepherd is the one that you got to watch his step. They got 4 feet. They cling on to the mountains. They know how to hug the cliffside. Him, he got a staff and he's praying for life. You know what I'm saying? But if they were far out, and listen, back in over there, what is it? What's the mountain? What's the mountain? Oh my gosh. It's over there. What's the tallest mountain in the world?
Everest.
I think it's over there by Mount Everest. When they got to move these sheep, they only got to do it once a season though. What they do in the spring, they move them to the valley where it's going to be this nice plush green, and they eat all summer. Then they got to move them back to the other side of the mountain before the snow hits. Because when the snow hits into the valley, everything's covered, no food. So they got to get them moved before it snows. Because when the weather hits, the mountain, you can't climb it. It's impassable. So they got to they got to time it. They got to know the first frost, the first snow. Move these sheep and these goats and get them back to the other side of the mountain where there's green grass. Bro, so you got to know, you got to have wisdom of the weather. These cats ain't sitting there looking at clocks. You got to know about seasons changing. You got to know about all these different things to be able to protect the flock. As a herdsman, as a simple shepherd, as simple as it may seem, you have to be a highly intelligent dude. You have to rely on wisdom being passed down from your father or your brothers to you if you were the youngest man up. You couldn't be a 12-year-old how 12-year-olds are today, right? You have to be highly attentive to the situation. Because you lose those sheep, it's on you. That's your family's livelihood. But it shows your character. Right? So read where you at. Isaiah 38:12.
Isaiah chapter 38, verse 12.
Right?
Mine age is departed.
Right?
And is removed from me as a shepherd's tent.
Right. And I just wanted that first part to show you that a shepherd's tent, there was such a thing. Where the shepherds did have tents and they were movable. Easily moved. They had to be. They had to be easily erected. Boom, boom, boom. And then broken down so we could keep it moving. Right? So from there, I want you to go to 2 Chronicles. So if it wasn't a tent situation, in certain instances, man, it depended on what you had and how much money, certain men would erect towers. Yeah, for you got to be able to spy out the enemy. That's what a tower is for, right? To be able to climb up and look. So depending on how much, who you were, you could erect a tower. Some men erected a tower in the middle of the wilderness, in the middle of the desert, to be able to spy out for enemies. But now, see, this all depends on how far away from home you were with the flock. Sometimes you had to stay overnight with the flock. Or nights with the flock. Right? So read 2 Chronicles 26:9.
2 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 9. Moreover, Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate.
Right.
And at the valley gate.
Right.
And at the turning of the wall. And fortified them.
Right.
Also, he built towers in the desert.
Go ahead.
And dig many wells.
See, some men would dig wells for the purpose of what? Read on.
For he had much cattle.
Yeah, I don't have time to walk these sheep and this cattle. So I'm gonna dig me a well right here so I can water them right there at the ready. Go ahead.
Both in the low country and in the plain.
Go ahead.
Husbandmen also, and vine dressers in the mountain.
Right.
And in Carmel, for he loved husbandry.
Right, you see that? So that was King Uzziah. He was a king though, so he was able to go the extra mile because of his cattle. Yeah, I'm gonna just build me a tower right here, build me a little walled up city, right? Dig me a few wells. He had the resources, but not every shepherd had that. So some men had to walk and move the herd around. Right? Go from there. So that's kind of it just on just the equipment, right? Y'all get that, right? So what's another thing that I've been kind of alluding to it, but what's another thing that the shepherd being out in the elements had to deal with? We talked about it. What was the purpose of the nice thick coat? What was out there? The weather, right? Yeah. What if it rained? Right? It definitely snowed in that region. It still does. It gets extremely hot in the day, and then it'll be extremely cold at night. So they had to bear with the weather. They couldn't be, oh man, it's too cold. I gotta, you know what, little sheepy, I'm gonna holler at y'all tomorrow. I'm gonna walk back to the house. Y'all sit out here in the field. No, a good shepherd sat there with them and bared the cold, bared the heat, bared the thirst. You see that? So there was many different things that a shepherd, and that's why I labeled it the hardship of a shepherd. Because he had to go through the hardship of being able to care for these animals. Remember, sheep can't feed themselves. They never could. The only thing they could do is forage. But if there's nothing to forage, guess what they'll do? In cold weather, sheep don't die from the cold. They die from hunger. They can withstand the cold. They're fine in the cold. But if there's no food, they'll die of hunger and thirst before they die of cold. You see that? So he had to provide everything for these animals. So go to Genesis 31 and verse 38. And I might go to the scripture a few times because it tells us a few different things in here. Now I'm just showing y'all what the shepherd had to deal with himself. So think about being in extreme weather. Isn't that a mental thing? You could be well girded with a nice jacket all you want. But if your mind can't withstand it, the day-to-day, then what's going to happen? You're going to give up anyway, right? So mentally, a shepherd undertaking this job, and I'm going to talk about that part also. You have to be mentally stable, though. You have to be rooted in his job. So read Genesis 31 and 38.
Genesis 31, verse 38.
Right?
This 20 years have I been with thee.
Right?
Thy who? You?
Thy ewes. So this is Jacob talking to Laban. He's letting them know, like, man, I've been with you 20 years. Your ewe, go ahead.
And thy she-goat
right?
have not cast their young.
Right. None of your animals are having miscarries or having bad births. Go ahead.
And the rams of thy flock have I not eaten.
And I haven't ate none of your rams. I'm not sacrificing your animals for me. Go ahead.
That which was torn of beast.
Right.
I brought not unto thee.
Right. If an animal was torn by a beast, I didn't bring that to you. I suffered that. Being the chief shepherd. Read.
I bear the loss of it.
You see that? Go ahead. Because the thing with the chief shepherd was this. Take a guess how the chief shepherd was paid. How was he paid?
With sheep.
He was paid with sheep. He was paid with the same very animal. Right? So that's why he said he had to bear the loss. I didn't bring you the torn animals. You know what, bruh? I just chalked it up as a loss. I took that as the payment and kept it moving. Read on.
Of my hand did thou require it.
He said, of my hand did you require it. He had to pay for that. Read on.
Whether stolen by day.
Whether what?
Stolen by day.
Go ahead.
Or stolen by night.
Whether stolen by day or by night. And we're going to get back to that day and night part. Go ahead.
Thus I was. In the day, the drought consumed me.
Right. He said in the daytime, the drought consumed me. I'm out there dying of thirst with the animals. If there was no water, we had to go find it. So I'm dying of thirst with them. Go ahead.
And the frost by night.
And I'm out there in the night with the frost. This is Jacob. This is Jacob. But now what you do is what you guys should be doing as we're going through this class, and we're just talking about we're really just talking about carnal things that a shepherd does and has, right? But now you correlate it to this man and you say, damn, okay, now I see why the Most High, used Jacob. I see why he's the father of the 12. I see why the Most High bestowed that level on him. Oh, damn, he wrestled with a whole angel. Ooh, Most High changed his name, right? From the supplanter to a prince with power. But where did he get that level of diligence to wrestle a whole day? Well, damn, when you've been wrestling with sheep for 20 years, anything's easy, right? When you've been wrestling with a man stealing your wages and having the patience and the long suffering to forbear, what's an angel? Right? That sounds, it should be, man. If you've been wrestling with an angel all day, what's a few sheep? But it was the other way. The Most High used the base things like sheep to put Jacob in this mind of diligence and fighting, long suffering.
Wow.
If you can't take care of the little things, you ain't going to take care of the big things.
That's right.
Them sheep became his 12 sons. Those sheep became the nation. David, those sheep became his sons and the nation, his kingdom. Y'all see that? Abel, those sheep became the righteous line. Amos, right? Moses, those sheep that he led through Midian and from one side of the mountain to the other. That became the people that he led through the damn Red Sea. Don't y'all see it now, right? How it correlates. Right. So, where you at?
Verse 40.
Go ahead.
Last precept.
Right?
And my sleep departed from my eyes.
Yeah. Ain't no sleep in the night for a shepherd. You thought, oh, nice and cozy. He got his little Sherlin jacket with the fur on it. He could tuck himself in. Hell nah. He's sleeping with one eye open. Because who likes to come at night? The predators, man. Right? So, I'll read this real quick. It says, and we're just talking about the shepherd. So if the shepherd is out there, and he's out there day in, day out, and he's far away from home, he don't have the luxury of a meal. And guess what he's not doing? He's not slaughtering the animals to eat. That's what he's not going to do. Right? Because when you slaughter a sheep in front of the sheep, guess what they get? Hell yeah! He's no longer going to be able to shepherd them. So he's not sitting there sacrificing the flock to have a nice roasted by the campfire meal that night. But no, you know what he is doing? What did John the Baptist do when he was in the wilderness? What did he eat? Huh?
Oh, you knew?
No, I'm talking.
Honey and locusts.
Right, he had the wild honey and the locusts, right? Right. And they would eat. Let me see here. Food was frequently consisted of the precarious supplies afforded by nature, such as the fruit of a sycamore tree or figs. So they had to be out there foraging for themselves to be able to eat. They couldn't just, oh, well, I got the flock. Bro, you start slaughtering sheep, man, in front of them, sheep go crazy, bro. And then you calling them, they're like, bro, we ain't going with you. Right? It would traumatize the sheep, so you didn't just start slaughtering the animals for you to eat. So they'd have to forage. They'd have to forage for their food to keep them going for however long that shepherd was out in that field. Right? So you're food deprived of you're deprived of comforts. You in a damn tent with a jacket on. You're deprived of your family. It's just you. Your sons ain't out there with you. Your mama and them. Usually it was a one-man job. I'm guessing, depending on how big the herd was, then now, okay, we got to get another man in there. Got to get another man in there. But you got 10, 15 sheep, bro, that's you. That's you. You got 20, that's you. 30, They said one man can have 1,000. He'll call to those 1,000 and they'll follow him. There could be 1,000 sheep sitting down. 2 herdsmen. When one herdman makes his noise and calls for his sheep, only his sheep will come. My sheep hear my voice and they follow me. Yeah. That's one of the beauties of the sheep. They'll only listen to their master. You see that? So we dealt with the food. Let's see here. Go to Amos real quick. Go to Amos 7. And let's see, do I want it? 7 and verse. Right. Go to 7 and verse 14.
God.
Read.
Amos chapter 7 verse 14. They that swear by the sin of the morality.
Amos 7 and 14.
Oh, 7 and 14. Mother.
Yeah.
Amos chapter 7 verse 14. Then answered Amos,
Right.
and said to Amaziah,
Mm-hmm.
I was no prophet,
Right.
neither was I a prophet's son,
Go ahead.
but I was a herdman and a gatherer.
I was a what?
A herdman
See, Amos letting you know I was a herdsman. A what? Go ahead.
and a gatherer of sycamore fruit.
Right. And I gathered sycamore fruit. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And the Lord took me as I followed the flock. And the Lord said unto me, Go, prophesy unto my people Israel.
Yeah, you see that? So he gathered that sycamore, man, from that sycamore tree, the sycamore fruit. While he was following the flock, let me gather this fruit so I can have something to eat. So we're dealing with the food. Let's deal with the attacks from wild animals that they had to. We talked about it a little bit, right? Let's go into it. The attacks from the nature. You had nature. You had the weather. You had wild animals, right? It said he had to encounter the attacks of wild beasts, occasionally of the larger species such as lions, wolves, panthers, bears. Right? Let's go. Let's stay in Amos. Let's go to Amos 3 and 12.
Amos chapter 3 verse 12.
Right?
Thus says the Lord, as the shepherd taketh out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs, or a piece of an ear, so shall the children of Israel be taken out that dwell in Samaria.
In Samaria.
Samaria, in the corner of a bed, and the
Damascus.
in the couch.
So what I would just reading it for what it is. He said as the shepherd take out of the mouth of the lion 2 legs, or a piece of an ear. The ear of what? That's the flock getting ate up. That's a lion coming, and by the time you get there to save that animal, all that's left is 2 legs getting gulped down. All that's left is the little leg bone that the lion left off because you ran him off, or an ear that fell to the ground because those wild beasts were out there attacking the flock, attacking the herdsman. Go to Jeremiah 5 and verse 6. Wait a minute, what? Shalom. All praise to the Most High. Acts for the sermon. We should pray to show our gratitude, love towards the Lord. Never call yourself a goat. That's demonic. I'm a sheep. Okay.
Jeremiah chapter 5 verse 6.
Right? Go ahead.
Wherefore a lion out of the forest shall slay them.
Right?
And the wolf of the evening shall spoil them.
Go ahead.
A leopard shall watch over their
You
cities.
see that? He's naming these animals: a lion, a leopard, a wolf. Go ahead.
Everyone that goes out then shall be torn in pieces.
Go ahead.
Because their transgressions are many.
Right.
And their backslidings are increased.
Right. And when you look at it, man, these are why is the lion, the wolf, the bear, these animals able to infiltrate? Well, there's no shepherds to guide and to protect. Go to Isaiah 31 and verse 4. You know, just a couple of scriptures just to show, like, it was real for these shepherds out there just like Derek said it, man. You out there with all these animals making all that noise. They're just bad all day. Now imagine having 20. It never stops. So all that noise is going to call attention of people and of animals. A lion knows exactly what a sheep sounds like. As soon as he hear that, his mouth start watering. Oh, wow. A bear, a leopard, they know exactly. A wolf, come on, man. A wolf will smell them sheep from miles away. They'll get that whiff, and guess what they'll do? They'll just follow, and they'll follow, and they'll follow, and they'll follow until the herd stops. Then they'll creep, and they'll case the whole joint, right? They wait for the sun to drop. Boom. They wait for that moon to go up. And they'll wait, and they'll creep. And they lay down. Then they get up, and they... But if you the shepherd that's like, oh, yeah, damn, man, so what's she talking? Oh, man, she's tripping. Man, what the hell? Man, I can't, man, these chicks, man, and you, man, right? The point is you're distracted, right? Taking the oversight doesn't mean you just see one way. But if you're distracted, if the shepherd is in his mind, man, I wonder who she's laying with at the house. Because, you know, right? If he worried about who she's laying with, who's creeping through his windows, what his daughter and son are doing, if he's worried about all those things, guess what he's not worried about? The immediate task. So the wolf is creeping up, right? The lion is creeping from one side, the wolf on another. You got a bear in front of you, and the flock is just being devoured, and he's just oblivious, man.
I've been out here 3 nights. It's cold.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's cold. I'm wet. I'm tired. I gotta feed you dumb sheep. Right? I'm out here because of y'all. He starts, right?
It's your fault, sheep.
It's all y'all's fault, right? I gotta do this because of you. Because you can't feed yourselves. Because you can't find water on your own self. Because you can't find food. Now he starts to become resentful. But the point is he stops watching, and that flock will start to dwindle down. He get back, wait a minute, we 20 short. Oh, because what had happened was my rib, like, bro, nobody don't go to work. Nobody slacks off on work because, like, you think he could slack off on work that day because he argued with his wife? No, because everything would slack. Then she'd have another argument waiting for him. You destroying our livelihood. You destroying the sheep. Then the boss would be on him. Right? So he had to watch for all the different predators that were going to be out there. Where you at?
Isaiah chapter 31, verse 4.
Go ahead.
For thus has the Lord spoken unto me, like as the lion and the young lion roaring on his prey.
Right.
When the multitude of shepherds is called forth against him.
See that? Because when the lion and the young lion come, who's the one that got to fight them? The shepherd should be there to defend. That's part of the job duty. So when a young boy is a young boy out in that field with them sheep, guess what? He can't come with the excuse. There was a lion in the way. Ooh. Remember that scripture?
Yeah.
A slothful man say there's a lion in the way. You couldn't say there was a lion because your brothers and dad will look at you like, nigga, you know how many lions I done fought off? All you had to do was get big and wave a stick. Where was your staff? Where was this? Where was that? So obviously it wasn't a far-fetched thing or some anomaly where a lion would approach or a wolf would approach the flock, and as an upstanding boy, courageous in the Most High, you ran that animal off. Not say that everybody did a David and grabbed him by the beard and smoked a bear and a lion and smacking them around. I'm not saying everybody did that. But to protect what was yours, that was part of the job description. Staff in one hand, rod in the other. Remember in Psalms, you said, thy rod and thy staff comfort me, right? How does a rod and a staff comfort? Guidance and protection, right? Guidance and protection. He said, he leadeth me down by the still waters. I'll give y'all another little tidbit. Sheep do not drink from running water. It scares them. They want to have water that is still. They drink from troughs, or they'll drink from a bucket, or they'll drink from a pond. But you're not going to get a sheep to drink from a body from like running water. They're just frightened by it. He leadeth me by the still waters. Read that Psalms. Remember, how does it start? The Lord is my The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want, right? And he goes through it and shows what is a true shepherd doing for his sheep. Leading them to the still water. Rod and the staff is comforting, but it's also protecting, right? He prepares my table. That's what the shepherd does. He prepares the food, or at least brings them to where they can just dip their nose in some good grass and eat, right? So Isaiah, where you at?
Isaiah chapter 31, verse 4.
Right?
He will not be afraid of their voice, nor abase himself for the noise of them. So shall the Lord of hosts come down.
Right, no, that's it on that. But y'all see that, right? Where the shepherds were supposed to stand against the lions when they appeared. So that was just really, that was just the shepherd. And we some of the things I'm going to repeat, but that was just the shepherd and what he had to do to keep himself as a shepherd. He had to feed himself. He had to clothe himself. His tools that he needed for the job, right? We haven't even really talked about what the shepherd had to do for the sheep. We talked about feeding and all those different things, but let's go into the care for the sheep. So you could title this "The Shepherd's Responsibilities," right? And what was the main responsibility? The care of the sheep, right? So let's go to John 10:1.
Book of John,
Go ahead.
chapter 10, verse 1.
Right, you're going to read the verse 3.
Verily, verily, I say unto you,
Right,
he that entereth not by the door
right,
into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber.
right. So Yahweh Shai is letting us know can you determine the difference between a shepherd and a thief and their intent. Well, what the shepherds would have would be a sheepfold, right? And they had like a little makeshift little tent type structure. And at night, after they watered the flock and did all that stuff, they would drive the sheep into the sheepfold. And what is it? Well, it's protected. It's gated off. That way, if I brought my flocks in from the fields, I could guard them off. And guess what I didn't have to do all night? I didn't have to stay up with them all night. I could get me some rest. They can be safe. Yahweh Shai is reminding us that if a man is climbing up over that sheepfold and trying to get to those sheep, he's a thief. If he's not able to go through that door, then that's not his place. Go ahead.
But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep.
Right.
To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice.
Right.
And he calleth.
The porter is like the security at the door. You see that? The porter, he's like the first line of defense at the door. It's like a security type guard. To him the porter openeth, or the door openeth. Go ahead.
And he calleth his own sheep by name.
Read.
And leadeth them out.
That's it on that. So jump to verse 17.
Verse 17. Therefore doeth my Father love me,
Right.
because I lay down my life that I might take it again.
Go ahead.
No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again.
So what's being told here? Well, again, the willingness to give yourself for the sheep. That was the main job of the shepherd. He gave himself for those sheep in all aspects of life. He damn near chewed their food for them. He damn near chewed up their food, man. You know what I'm saying? He almost had to be their teeth. That's how dire and dependent the flock was on the shepherd. But the shepherd had to be in the mind that, you know what? I'll die for you. You're just a dumb animal, but I'll die for you. I'll put my life on the line. But if he did things in wisdom, if he did things using knowledge and using foresight, a wise man foreseeth the evil, right? He wouldn't have to put his life on the line necessarily all the time, because he's taking preventative measures. Man, that looks kind of spooky over there. Nah, we ain't gonna go that way. They ain't gonna be able to bear it. Let's you know what? Let me use my staff and let's try to do a different path, or let's figure out another way, or let's go around, or let's not try to climb up. Let's do things in a way where the flock will be able to bear it and withstand. So he had to lay down his life. He couldn't be like, man, I'm trying to get home tonight to get me some, and y'all are walking too slow. Sheep, the little baby sheep taking too long, kicking them in the butt. Come on, pow! Come on, you see how people deal with animals? You see how these farmers, man, they be grabbing them by the ears, kicking them, stomping on them. Look at how all them cow farms deal with those cows? Smacking them around, mistreating them. Right? He couldn't do that. He couldn't do that to his animals. Right? So, one of the things about a shepherd, we talk about all the tools and all the things that he needs, but just the routine. I talked about it earlier. It was a get up, get dressed, knowing what? The rest of the day wasn't going to be about you. The rest of the day was going to be about them sheep. I'm sounding like Locker Rob now. Adding the S to everything. The rest of the day was going to be about your flock. Now let's think about that. Think about Jacob for 20 years. Knowing that every time he woke up, or every time one of these other servants came in, it was about what? Man, the sheep are going crazy. Man, there was a wolf that tried to break in. Man, somebody tried to steal one of the... Imagine he trying to chill with his ribs, right? He trying to kick it with Rachel and Leah. Have some, good old quality family time.
Wow.
But y'all cats is coming to me about some sheep? I ain't got time, bruh.
Wait a minute.
Right, what's up?
I just thought about this. No off days. Huh?
Ain't no off days.
Off the day.
The sheep, as long as there's sheep alive, ain't no off days. That's the key. This was a lifetime commitment. You were lifetime committed for however long. You better pray that your daddy had another son. Daddy, please have another son. Please have another son so I can move up in the ranks.
He still have to grow up.
But he still have to grow up. Right. But it was a life dedicated. You had to be dedicated. There was no off days, man. Right? It was no off days like that. Jacob wasn't taking all. You think LeBron was like, oh yeah, you got, we gonna have you, Monday through Friday 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? $17.50 an hour. Paid vacations. Right? You and the family, y'all can take trips to Jerusalem and do all that. Hell nah, nigga, you working every day. You working every day. This is your responsibility as long as these sheep are alive. And what did Jacob do? He multiplied the sheep. So more responsibility.
Wow. Yeah.
Sheep ain't gonna, you don't want more responsibility, we gonna stop breeding. Hell nah. Sheep drop babies twice a year. Did y'all know that? They could drop a baby twice in a year. They are quick. In 6 months, they're ready to give birth. In 6 months, sheep are ready. They can give birth quickly. You go from 12 to 24, you're like, how we get here? 24 to 78, 76, how did we do this? Wait a minute. We got to start neutering and spaving, right? But you couldn't do that to your animals because you had to produce that first flock to be able to present to the Most High. So you constantly had to have something to give to the Most High as a herdsman, right? You constantly have to bring something as an offering. So you constantly had to be in this job. So it was a tedious, day-to-day, week by week, year by year. Sounds familiar, don't it?
Kind.
Read? Right? Yeah. It sounds familiar, right? So, watch, and I'll read it to you. It says, a routine of a shepherd's duties appears to have been as the following. In the morning, he led forth his flock from the fold, which he did by going before and calling to them. Arrived at the pasture, and it says sometimes they will watch the flock with an assistance of the dog. So in the morning, you wake up, you get dressed, you do your thing. The sheep gotta eat. They're in the sheepfold. There's no food for them. They gotta eat. You go to the sheepfold, you open the door, you make your little noises or whatever you say. Come forth, right? Come forth, sheepy, sheepy. And then you guide them to the pasture, however far out that is. You gotta make sure what? Head count. Right? Got all 50. Get to the field. Head count. Got all 50. Right? Get back. 49. Oh, dang. Run back out to the field. Where's he at? The little baby is dipped down in the long foliage. I can't hear it. Oh, there's a wolf up there. Oh, wow. Gotta get him. Just imagine that. You walking out to the field, man. and you see a wolf creeping up, and you see the lamb over there, and you're like, oh, here we go. That was their life. That was their excitement.
Right.
Because it wasn't exciting. Right? So, the guiding them back and forth to food and water, right? So, had to get them and we read about that. Sometimes wells were digged. They were either walked to water. Let's deal with when the sheep would grow their nice, fluffy, woolly coats. We talked about that, right? How did that come off? The shepherd had to go shave them up. But what did he have to do before he did that?
Clean them.
Yeah. How? Come on, little sheepy. Let's go into the bathtub. Let's get the watering hose. Bruh, he had to walk them damn sheep into a river, wash them down, come up, each one. Go to Wisdom of Solomon. Go to Wisdom of Solomon 4 and 2. 4 and 2. Imagine trying to wash a fully grown sheep that don't want to get in the water. You don't want to get wet, but now I got to clean you and get some of this hay, some of this poop, some of this dirt. Remember, you went with us to go look at the sheep, right? And obviously those were like deplorable conditions because they got them so jam-packed in the pen. But just imagine them being jam-packed in the pen overnight and then being able to go out to the field. Think about the disease, the dirt, the blood, the poop, just all that a sheep is going to have on them. You got to go wash that off before you can shear that sheep. Nobody wants dirty wool. You can't weave dirty wool. So read that.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 2. When it is present, men take example.
I'm sorry. Song of Solomon 4 and verse 2. Pardon me. Song of Solomon. So the shearing of the sheep only happened once a year. The shearing of the sheep happened during the time of Passover, right in April. They would grow that nice fluffy coat all the way through the winter to protect them. And then by April, springtime, when what? The weather is changing, it's getting hot. We got to shear the sheep. Because if you didn't, if you left the wool, they can have 100 pounds of wool, 150 pounds of wool on them easily. That's if you don't maintain the sheep. There was one, believe it or not, I used to watch Esau do the sheep shearing competitions. They grab the sheep, flip them, flip them, done in 30 seconds. But there was one where, man, this sheep was just so overgrown, the fur was like dreadlocks this thick, hanging off his back. They had to cut it with something automatic. They couldn't even use a clipper or a shearer because the hair was so thick and matted. It literally hung off his back. When they shaved him, he was like a little old chihuahua. But before they shaved him, he was like a pot-bellied pig. He was so big. I think he had, 150, 200 pounds of hair on him that was just growing. I'm talking about the hair on his face was just coming down. When they shaved his face, like a whole totally different animal. He walked with a limp because the hair was so heavy. So you got to take care of that animal. So read that. Wisdom of Solomon 4 and verse 2.
Look at Song of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 2.
Song of Solomon. Salaki.
Thy teeth are like a flock of sheep that are even shorn.
Right.
Which come up from the washing.
Go ahead.
Whereof everyone bare twins, and none is barren among them.
Right. So you see that? He said, the sheep that are even shorn, which come up from the washing. But before you shorn that sheep in April, you have to wash them, man. You have to take them into the water and wash out that fur before you cut it. Now imagine if you got a flock of 1,000. Good luck. Good luck. Bro, that's back-breaking work. Who's signing up for this? Right? You see how quick my hand went down? Who? Oh yeah, sign me up, Daddy. Right, David? Oh, sign me up, Papa. I'll Come on, man. It was backbreaking work, but it was a work of diligence. That was the point. It built a level of diligence in these men that if you could sit there with this flock and how long did Moses have Jethro's flock? For 40 years. Jacob 20. They didn't let Joseph rock for that long. They killed him. They tried to kill him before, he wasn't that old. But imagine doing that for 40 years, bro. Back and forth, the same path. Go to this mountain, go to this plain, go to the house, in the pen, wake up. You ever see the life of a farmer? What they got to do in the morning? A farmer. Like when they wake up, what's the first thing they got to do? Feed the animals. Head count. Oh, got all the pigs, got all the horses, got all this. Feed everybody. When them roosters is crowing, them animals get hungry. Feed everybody, water the plants, water the crops. That's back-breaking work. But that's why the scriptures tell you what? Hate not laborious work. Right? You weren't supposed to hate it. It built a level of diligence in you. That's why also I understand why the scriptures say exercise profited little. You was getting all the exercise you need. Imagine lifting a 30-pound sheep, 1,000 of them.
Yeah, that's 1,000 reps.
Yeah, bro, you getting it in. Cats was swole back then, but you gotta understand why Elisha, where it said he had 12 yoke of oxen, but he wasn't on all 12 yoke. He had 2 yoke that he was pulling. Imagine that, being strong enough to pull 2 ox, or 2 ox pull you, and you could whoa and they stop where they go. Ox? He wasn't no little dude. Why? Because the repetitions. Y'all see that? Where we at? So we talked about it, right? The safety and well-being of the flock, right? Safety and well-being and keeping account of the flock. Go to right, so once he took them out to eat, to drink, depending on how far they went, in the evening you have to bring them back. You got to make sure they're all there. Right? Proverbs 27 and verse 23.
Hi. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 23. Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flock.
Right?
And look well to thy herd.
Yeah, be thou diligent. Diligence is just consistency. And we'll talk about that. But it said, be thou diligent to know the estate of thy flock and look well to your herd. This was important because, again, that herd benefited you. Right? If you needed, when you needed to feast days and sacrifice and you needed clothing, where do you think it came from? Now, if your herd is small because you're neglectful, or it was big and then it started getting small because you were neglectful, you only hurt yourself. You only hurt your own livelihood. So this was a very, very, it was a beautiful thing for a man to understand that the more you put in, the more you'll get out. And what you put in is what you get out. You reap only what you sow. Acts. No. Go to Luke 15 and verse 4. There's a reason why Yahweh Shai used all these shepherd parables, man. It was supposed to put you in that mind of a shepherd and his accountability. Luke 15 and verse 4.
Luke chapter 15 verse 4.
Right?
What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he lose
Go ahead.
does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after that which is lost until he find it?
So he's putting you in a mind state. You got 100 sheep. One leaves off and gets lost and strays away. You just gonna leave that one to himself? I got 99 more. I should be good. Nah, man. A diligent man that cares about the estate of his flock, that cares about his beast, that's not cruel. He gonna listen. He gonna get the dog. Dog, get him. Watch him. Right? You know, had a dog on him, the shepherd dog, the sheep dog. Watch him. And you're going to go look for that one that's strayed off so you can have your flock whole. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And when he had found it, he laid it on his shoulder.
He does what?
Lay it on his shoulder, rejoicing.
Think about it. These men were hoisting animals onto their shoulders and walking back to the flock. Like, nah, man, you going to come on, man, we got to get back. Right? Imagine putting a full-grown sheep on your shoulder. What type of man you have to be? Couldn't be no wimp out here. Couldn't be soft out here. But the grabber, whoop, let's ride, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you got this far, but look, we got a long way back. But you happy because you found them. See, this was the mind that you were supposed to be in, not that, oh, I got 99, so I'm good. He'll be all right. Nah, man, dang, I lost one. Dang, I'm slacking. How'd I let him get away? I know him, man. He's always the rebellious one anyway. Right? He's always the one that's straying off. But what did it show about that shepherd if he kept losing the sheep? He wasn't watching. His care, his attentiveness. These are all characteristics that this job built or should have built in this man. I get it, man, why the Most High was like, y'all gonna be shepherds. The most tedious, painstaking job ever. And it's dangerous. And you gotta have some courage. I get it now. I fully see, like, man, the Most High was really trying to really just instill these necessary things in us to have, listen, this is how you led an army. This is how you had a family. This is how you raise kids, right? All the same principles and characteristics that you had in any leadership position, you learned from being a shepherd as a boy. And that boy should have been doing what? Watching his papa do it before he got the chance. So it was a never-ending learning of how to be a leader, how to watch and be diligent, how to care for something other than yourself, how to put yourself on the line for something that seems so minuscule. Because, I mean, really, what's a sheep? Does the Most High care for sheep? Does he care for birds? Does he care for this? No, he care about us, right? But he's using these baser things to show you, right? Like when Saul lost his father's asses. But boy, you better go get them asses, right? Because they were worth something to somebody. But what did it show about Saul? If he lost the animals, what was Saul worried about? Not the animals, not his job. Where David is fighting bears and lions to get back what that lion or bear took. Right? Read on. Where we at?
Luke chapter 15, verse 6.
Yeah, finish it.
And when he come home, he called together his friends and neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost.
Go to Ezekiel 34, verse 6. Yeah, that herdsman, that shepherd was happy, man, to recover his loss. You start having a party, calling cats over, man, look. I ain't no slacker after all, right?
They don't kill and eat the sheep.
You know what?
They gonna kill and eat the sheep?
Nah, bro, they had to eat figs. Where we at? Ezekiel 34, verse 6.
Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 6. My sheep wandered through all the mountains,
right,
and upon every high hill. Yeah, my flock was scattered upon all the face of the earth, and none did search or seek after them.
And this is why the Most High. This is why the Most High was mad in Jeremiah's time, Ezekiel's time, Isaiah's time, right? The shepherds that were supposed to guide the people. He said, "My people are wandering through the mountains, and ain't nobody looking for them. Ain't nobody gathering them." Jump to verse 8.
Verse 8. As I live, says the Lord God, surely because my flock became a prey.
Because what?
Because my flock became a prey.
So if a man was going to go search for that one sheep out of the 99, out of the 100, imagine how, and be rejoiceful when he got it. Imagine how pissed off the Most High is for us being lost and scattered. Go ahead.
And my flock became meat to every beast of the field. Because there was no shepherd.
Because there was what?
There was no shepherd.
Go ahead.
Neither did my shepherds thirst for my flock.
Right.
But the shepherds fed themselves.
They did what?
Fed themselves.
They were only about themselves, man. And this is what a shepherd can't be about. That's just a hireling. A real shepherd can't be about just himself. That flock is first priority. Those sheep are first priority. What verse you at? 9?
Verse 8, last precept.
Go ahead.
And fed not my flock. Verse 9.
Peter, if lovest thou me? Yes, Lord. Peter, lovest thou me? Yes, Lord. Feed my sheep. Peter, you love me? Yeah. Feed my sheep. Peter, you love me? Yeah. Feed my sheep. There's a correlation here. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Therefore, O ye shepherds, hear the word of the Lord.
Go ahead.
Thus says the Lord God, behold, I am against the shepherds, and I will require my flock at their hands.
See that? He's going to require his flock at that neglectful shepherd's hands. So when that man was out there losing sheep left and right, that chief shepherd was like, hold on, bruh. What's going on here, man? You always come back with a loss. What's happening? Either you stealing, or you clucking sheep off and saying that they're getting eaten, or you just neglectful. Well, what did Jacob say? Laban required it at his hand when something was lost or torn by beast. So the Most High is going to require it. Right?
Yeah.
In a spiritual sense now, of the shepherds that don't practice the first Peters in the way it was intended. If it's for constraint or filthy lucre or for the wrong reasoning, Most High is going to require that us, man. Read on.
And cause them to cease from feeding the flock. Neither shall the shepherds feed themselves anymore, for I will deliver my flock from their mouth.
See, because what were the filthy shepherds eating on? They were devouring the flock. Y'all get it now? So taking the oversight, not by constraint, not for filthy lucre. It was the shepherd or the hireling devouring the flock and using the flock to get by. Eating the flock. But he said it. He said, I will deliver my flock from their mouth. Go ahead.
That they may not be meat for them.
Yeah, because that's what a bad shepherd would do. He'd just be out there eating the flock. He'd be out there eating the sheep. And then, man, I got hungry. What was I supposed to do? Fast. Suffer.
You know what it remind me of? It remind me of Friday. When Smokey had the weed, he was supposed to sell the weed.
And he was just smoking up all of that.
Smoking all up.
the product.
Yep. And then Big Worm wanted to kill him for it. That's why, just like the Most High, like, I'm gonna require this. I'm gonna require my sheep at your hand, right? Your life.
Yep. Go to so let's talk about this real quick. We talked about it. Predators and robbers by day. Go to 1 Samuel 17 and verse 34. Predators and robbers by day. 1 Samuel 17 and verse 34.
1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 34.
Right.
And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him.
I left it.
No, and I went out after him.
I was scared.
And I went out after him.
I went out after that, bro. I was up on him. Go ahead.
And smote him.
Smote him.
And smote him. And delivered it out of his mouth.
See that? He said before he could even eat it, before he could devour it, I killed that lion and that bear. Took the lamb out of his mouth. Go ahead.
And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him.
Damn. Read.
Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them.
Right.
Seeing he had defied the armies of the living God.
See, just proving the point that David took what he learned as a shepherd into war. He's like, bro, I'm fighting lions and bears. I'm 16. You think a man I fear? I was a shepherd.
grabbed him by the beard.
So they grabbed him by the beard, bro. He said, first I hit him, smote him, took the animal out of his mouth. Then I grabbed him by the beard, hit him again, and then slew him.
It was a monster.
But then they got this movie out where Idris Elba is fighting the lion. You ever see that movie with Idris Elba? I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Were you like out in the safari or something, and it's like him versus the lion?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, I gotta see that. They trying to make him David or what?
Nah,
That old little small digitally imposed lion? Nah, bro, that CG lion. That wasn't it. You know what I mean? David was fighting a full grown cat that was hungry. You ain't fighting no lion for no food, man. When they got that food in their mouth, that's it. Good luck. But David wasn't. David was about that life. Go to Genesis 31 and verse 6.
God.
No, you ain't got to go there. We read that already. We read there. So you can write down protection at night. Protection at night. Go to Luke chapter 2, verse 8. So once he got him into the sheepfold, and that sheepfold could have been anywhere. But a lot of the times what would happen is this. If they were out and they were far from home, what he would have the sheep do is just lay down in the grass and sit there overnight. They would just, usually what they do, they drink, they eat, they kick it. They just want to lay down. They lay down and just lay there, get some sun. And if they weren't going to journey, they just stayed there. They wouldn't move. You know, if sheep fall on their back, you know they can't get up, right? Somebody needs to help them. They'll lay there and die. There's another thing about, like, they have to have assistance with everything. The way their bodies are built, when they fall and they ever do the whole, I've fallen and I can't get up, here comes the shepherd to come hoist them up. You ever see? We've seen it when they go to kill the animal, and when it's on his side and it's just doing the kicking thing, you ain't gotta really do nothing because he can't get up. He'll lift his head and fight, but bro, he'll kick himself tired and just die because they're very helpless animals. They need a lot of help to survive. Luke 2 and verse 8.
Luke chapter 2 verse 8. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field,
Right?
keeping watch over their flock by night.
Keeping watch at night. Jacob said it. He said sleep. Right? What did Jacob say about the sleep? He said, man, I didn't get much sleep. He didn't get much sleep. Why? Because there has to be night watches. Right? Go from there. Go to John 10 and 12.
God.
St. John chapter 10 verse 12.
John chapter 10 verse 12. But he that is
Hireling.
and not the shepherd whose own the sheep are not,
Right?
sees the wolf coming and leaveth the sheep and flees.
Yeah, oh man, it's too dark out here. I can't stay out here with these animals. It's the wolves. Oh. I remember when we went to go do Feast of Tabernacles out in the woods. And I remember the first little wolf sound I heard. I was like, oh, it's real out here. Okay. There was wolves, there was coyotes, there was also wild hogs. And all three of those animals will kill a man. But guess what we didn't do? We didn't hear oink oink and then ran. We didn't hear a howl like, oh, you know what, ladies? Shalom, sisters. We're going to go sleep in our cars. Right? But imagine that.
Throw the women behind us while we run to the car.
Like old dude did with the pit bull when he said, there was a video, man, he was walking his daughter. The pit bull got under the gate. Bro, he hopped on that car so fast and left his daughter just right there. The dog ran around her and then ran back inside. I was like, whoa, you couldn't even just grab the baby?
Dang.
He left the baby right there, man. That's a hireling mentality.
I would kill the dog.
It's about me. It's about my safety. Wolves, I didn't sign up for this, but you did. defending. You signed up, starve, hunger. But see, Shepard goes into minister. Proving ourselves as ministers of the Most High through much necessity, tribulation, patience, suffering, fastings, right? You go through all those things and you're like, damn, that sounds like a shepherd to me. A hireling is, after the first little stomach growl, he's out of there. After the first raindrop, he's gone. After the first little frost touches his wee little nose, man, I'm up. I'm out of here. After the first sleepless night, I'm done. Because a hireling is not going to suffer the things that are needed to keep that flock alive. That's the difference between a shepherd and a hireling. Go ahead.
And the wolf catches them and scattereth the sheep. The hireling flees, because he is an hireling.
Right.
And careth not for the sheep.
Right, and mostly hirelings were just outside people, man, that weren't really part of the family. They had no real stake in the game. It was like, those ain't my sheep, so it don't really matter what happens to them. But now you see why it was something that was handed down in the family to the sons, because it gave the son the accountability for the family. Now you're now accountable. Now you think about it. Think about this. If we're all part of something, and you never have to sacrifice for it. But I made, like, we go into business together. And I put in all the sacrifice. Right? And you ain't gonna put nothing in. Are you gonna care for that thing as much as I do? No. No, you're like, I'm just here. I'm here for the ride. I'm just here to enjoy the ride. Mm-hmm. I put in all the sacrifice. I put in all the effort. I put in all, and I'm just like, man, come on. I'm gonna be more in the mind of watching for what's going wrong, how to keep it moving right. I'm gonna be more in that mind. But the only way to get you on the same mind as me is to now make you put in some level of sacrifice for that thing, make you now accountable. So this is what was going on with the men. We were making our sons accountable for their family through being a shepherd. Because if one is lost, we might not eat that night, son. Yeah, how you feel if you couldn't eat because of your family? Pretty crappy, huh? Yeah. But how can you take care of the big things if you can't take care of the little things? Be not ignorant in any matter, great or small. Those little lessons that were being taught. Did you finish that?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Let's deal with this real quick. And I think we talked about it. The shepherd's life, a life of, I'll use the word, it was a life of monotony. Waking up, open the door, let the sheep come out, walk them, eat, walk them to the river, drink, walk them back, sit, walk them in, wake up, sit, right? 7 days a week. You'd be happy if you had a little bit of help, right? And a dog. That might have, but it's still the same thing. I got to wake up and do this thing. Like, the sheep got to get out and eat. I'm dying. I'm sick. Somebody got to open that door. But they only want to hear your voice. They only follow your voice. Dang, got to sacrifice. Got to make it happen. Right? So, go to Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiastes 38 and 24. Now, I want y'all to listen carefully to this. There's a reason why I put this here. Read that.
Okay, Ecclesiasticus chapter 30 and verse 24. Envy and wrath shorten the life.
38 and verse 24. Salakia. Ecclesiasticus 38 and 24. I'm sorry.
Okay, Ecclesiasticus chapter 38 and verse 24. The wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure.
Go ahead.
And he that hath little business shall become wise.
Right. Go ahead.
How can he get wisdom that holdeth the plow?
Right. See, there's something that this scripture is showing you. It's not that a man that has a plow is dumb. But all he knows is the plow. You can't talk to him about husbandry. Or you can't talk to him about carpentry. You can't talk to him about shoemaking because he knows only about the plow. He didn't get the wisdom because this is where his mind is on. Go ahead.
And that glorieth in the goad.
The goad, right? The goad is what they use to drive the oxen, right? It's like a little, almost like a rod with a little pointy end in it. Get them going, right?
I mean, this new gold, yep. It really get them moving.
Yeah, man, I'm about to get these sheep moving, right? I'm about to get the oxen moving. I got me a goad. Go ahead.
That driveth oxen.
Right.
And is occupied in their labors.
Right.
And whose talk is of bullocks.
Right.
He giveth his mind to make furrows.
Wait, he does what?
He giveth his mind to make furrows.
No. His mind is on his woman. His mind is on his money, his mama and them, and all the other things.
He giveth his mind to make furrows.
No. His mind is occupied in the cares of this world.
He giveth his mind to make furrows.
Go ahead.
And his diligent to give the kind father.
Right. Fodder. Feed. Right? His mind is on his task day in. There's a reason why I went here, to show you that he's not worried about, a shepherd ain't worried about the wisdom of gold refining and boot shoemaking and fishing. You can't ask a shepherd how to fish. Why? Because he's a shepherd. Only thing he know how to do is get that flock from point A to point B safely. He'll give you all the ins and outs of the region that he's in. No, we don't go that way because that's too slippery. We don't go that way because it's too muddy. We go this way because the sheep can bear it. They can handle it. They can this. They can that. We don't go over there because, man, there's too many wolves. Too many lions that way. He'll give you the whole layout. Ask him how to catch a fish. He'll be like, I'm not a fisherman. Right? I'm not a fisherman. Remember in 300? Remember in 300 when Leonidas met up with the other guys and they were going to go fight? Yeah. And he said, what's your occupation? He said, what did he say? He said, you only brought 300.
Right.
He said, we got thousands. He said, what's your occupation? Fisherman. Right? What's your occupation? Farmer. What's your occupation? Right?
Right.
In the 300, he said, Spartans, what is your occupation? We warriors. You a fisherman trying to be a warrior.
Right.
You a farmer trying to be a warrior. You ain't got the wisdom on that. But the 300 outlasted all those men because why? Their wisdom was in what? How to go to war. You see that? That's one of the best scenes in that. That's one of the best scenes in any movie ever.
God. That was like a huge cap on him.
Oh, he killed them. He said, what's your... Because them dudes was trained in the wisdom of warfare. They weren't warriors by day and then pimps by night. They ate, sleep, and crap warfare. That's all they did. Right? Just like a herdsman. All he did, all he should have been. His focus, his diligence, right? Got to be on that flock. Got to be on how to keep that flock safe. Where is the pitfalls going to come from? Which way do the robbers come from? Are we defensed? A wise man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Right? So y'all get that? Wisdom of Solomon 6:17. So this life of reputation wasn't like, oh my God, it's so garbage. This was actually a life of him just being focused on his job. Until what? Like Moses. You think Moses was worried about anything else until the Most High appeared to him in a burning bush? He didn't care about nothing else, man, until what? That Most High said, look, it's time for something else. Joseph. All these men would have did their job unless the Most High pulled them from that. Amos. He would probably still been a herdsman till this day. He said it. I wasn't the son of a prophet. So I was doing what I know. I was a son of a herdsman. So I became a herdsman. And that's what I would have died doing. But the Most High pulled me and gave me a different path and said, go talk, go teach. But he wasn't out there with his precepts, with the sheep. Like, man, yeah, the scriptures say, you know what I mean? And I'm going to cut these cats. Nah, he wasn't on that. He was like, man, how do I live in righteousness and get these sheep back and forth? Where we at?
Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 17.
Right, so this life of monotony was really a life of diligence, a life of pinpoint focus on the task. See, we look at it as monotony, like, oh, it's so boring. Okay, it's only boring if you don't love it. It's only boring if you're not willing. It's only boring if you're doing it by constraint. Because once all the fun is gone, or what you deem as fun is gone, then you're going to only be bored. That's why he said you couldn't do this job by constraint or for the wrong reason, because then you wouldn't do it wholeheartedly. I said that already. Read on.
For the very true beginning of her
Right.
is the desire of discipline.
Go ahead.
And the care of discipline is love.
Right, so a herdsman is disciplined in the wisdom of herdsmanship. How did he keep that going? Well, he had to be diligent. Where does his diligence come from? The care, the love of the flock. You see how that works? So he had wisdom, but for his profession. How did he stay wise and diligent? Because he had the care of love for what he was endeavoring and trying to keep going. Ecclesiasticus 23 and verse 2. Somebody else get Proverbs 12:24. Somebody else get Proverbs 22 and 29. And then we out of here. 12:24. This Bible is so delicate. Where we at?
Okay, Ecclesiasticus chapter 23 and verse 2.
Go ahead.
Who will set scourges over my thoughts?
Right.
And the discipline of wisdom over mine heart.
See, and this is how you conquer what you say is, oh, it's so monotonous and boring. You conquer that by saying, wait a minute, let me get my thoughts in line and really put my pinpoint focus on what it is that I'm doing, the task at hand. Then there is no monotony, there is no boredom. But who's going to do that? See, a lot of people don't want the scourges set. But why did I go here? I went here to show that this herdsman's job, just think about it. You go through it the first year, and you already know what you're in for. And you're like, damn, I got to do that a whole other year? I got to go through the weather, the elements, the animals, the men, the this, the that. Right? It's not like it gets better as the years go. You're dealing with more weather. You're dealing with more robbers. And especially if they know they can get you, they're gonna be talking like, oh yeah, you know what? By 3 o'clock, he's out like a light. Mm-hmm. All you gotta do is come up on the backside, grab the two little lamb from the edge. He'll never know. And then they bring more robbers and more thieves, and they getting you at a higher rate. Why? Because now they're talking about your inconsistencies and your lack of foresight and your lack of acknowledgement. Or you could set those scourges and say, no, I got to be on top of this. This is my profession. This is my job. This is my livelihood. These are the things that they had to do, man. And, you know, I think that it was fairly easy to have your mind set because there wasn't as many opportunities afforded, right? Like how you get the opportunity now. I don't think there was as many opportunities afforded where, just think about it. You grow up in a certain area, in a certain region, in a certain place. You're gonna do what everybody else is doing. So we follow what everybody else was doing. We followed our family.
Oh, like, so there wasn't much opportunity as in, like, all these different outlets that are available
right,
today.
The outlets, like, oh, I could be an actor, but you never acted. Or I could be a this, or I could be a that. Mm-hmm. And you could do it all from the tip of a phone.
Gone.
Like, I was watching something. Remember Dave Chappelle? How he do the sketch comedy? Mm-hmm. Dude, cats is doing sketch comedy right from their phones.
Gone.
They're literally doing sketch comedy flicks right from their phones. Where I seen one dude, he did one where he was like Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and somebody else, and he was in all three scenes, and it was funny. It was funny the way he did it. But you can do it all from this and be your own comic. You don't need Dave Chappelle. Anything that we've seen in the past now can be mimicked, right? the opportunities are abundant now, right? And the more opportunities you see, the more things you can chase. But if I only see my father being a herdsman, then that's what I'm going to follow. So the opportunity, keep the mind in check. Right? Jump from there. Go to Proverbs 12:24.
Proverbs chapter 12, verse 24.
Right?
The hand of the diligent shall bear rule.
The hand of the diligent just means consistent. Consistent in business. Consistent day to day in business. That's all it means. It's to stay on top of it day to day. The hand of the diligent is going to bear rule. Now, just think about that. Moses, Joseph, right? David, Amos, Abel, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Look at all these men that were diligent in things so small and became rulers, man. Look how they did that little shepherding, and now they're bearing rule. Read on.
But the slothful shall be under tribute.
But the slothful is going to continue to be paying. You have to pay. You're going to have to pay the diligent man. Jump from there. Go to Proverbs 29 and verse 22 and verse 29. Right?
Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29.
Go ahead.
See thou a man diligent in his business.
Yeah, you see a man consistent in his business, day to day, fighting the elements, fighting the excuses, fighting the lion, fighting the bear, fighting his own mind, setting scourges. Go ahead.
He shall stand before kings.
What's he going to do?
Stand before kings.
Or he might just become one. Go ahead.
He shall not stand before mean men.
Right? Right. So, y'all see that, right? There was one last thing I want to hit. And I was saying it, and there was one thing that the shepherd had to have through all of this, and it was the compassion on the flock. Remember, if you had a flock of 1,000 sheep, or even 100 sheep, they ranged in age from super old to super young. So he had to have enough compassion on his animals to not drive them too hard, right? Not drive them too far. Not take them all the way out to where now they can't make it back. You got to carry them all. It's not going to happen. So there had to be a level of compassion to understand how far he could push that flock, right? Who was in that mind? Wasn't that, who said it? I got old in the flock and young. Wasn't that Jacob? Yeah. When Esau was like, remember when Esau was trying to get him to stay with him?
Yeah.
And he said something about the flock, like I got young and old in the flock.
Yeah, he did.
I don't want to drive them too hard or something like that. Yeah, you got to have that compassion. Well, where did he learn that from? Even though he was giving Esau an excuse, where did he learn that from? He learned that from driving those sheep and knowing if you drive them too hard, you're going to kill them young babies. And you're going to kill them old ones too. Right? So you couldn't be too hard on the sheep. You have to have that compassion. Right? So just want to leave that out there. But any questions on that?
Hello.
Let me answer this real quick. No questions on the class? Okay, so Sean Presley, why hasn't my only prayer ever been answered? It has really tested my faith. Well, it depends on what you're praying for. It depends on what you're praying for and why you're praying for it. It may not be. It may not be time for it to be answered. Like, the one thing we got to remember, we're not on, the Most High is not on our time, we're on His time. We got to get that out of our head. First of all, go to Hebrews 10:35 real quick. Then we're going to go to James. But, yeah, we all got prayers, right? There's prayers of mine that haven't been answered. I'm ready for the world to end. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It ain't up to me, though. I'm ready to get up out of this captivity. I've been praying. We've all been praying for that. right? But look, I'm 40 years old. Might make it to 50. Might make it to 60 before it ends.
Don't say that.
Right? But I want you to read Hebrews. He said it's testing your faith. It's supposed to. It's supposed to test your faith. Like, that's the thing. Like, everybody want to get their prayers answered, but you don't want to put no work in. Most High want to see how long can you hold out before you get what you get. Because as soon as we get, what do we tend to do? Skirt. You fall back,
Yep.
right? Lord, if you do this for me, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Right? And as soon as he bless you, then what? You don't do the blah, blah, blah part. Read.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35.
Go ahead.
Cast not away, therefore, your confidence, which has great recompense of reward.
So first of all, don't cast away your faith. That's where you're gonna get. That's what you get rewarded through. Don't cast the faith away. Go ahead.
For ye have need of patience.
You have what?
Need of patience.
Go ahead.
That after ye have done the will of God,
Read.
ye might receive the promise.
No, I got to do I get the promise, and then I do the will. Read it again.
After ye have done the will of God.
See, it don't work the way we want it to work. Whose will are you doing? That's first and foremost. Think about it. Do parents give a rebellious child rewards? Only foolish parents do that, right?
Con.
Yeah. And that child is more than likely spoiled.
Con.
So the question is, what are you doing to get your prayer answered? You facing the east? You got your head covered? I go through all the ways to pray, right? The Bible tells us to pray. Why am I bringing these things up? Because you want something, but so does the Most High. He wants your obedience. He don't want you to say a bunch of words. He wants you to do the things that the scriptures say. Face the east. Don't cover your head. Pray with all your heart. Don't come with vain repetition and vain babbling like it says in Matthew 6. So there's a way to do the thing that you're doing correctly. But whose will are you doing? That's first and foremost. Go ahead.
Ye might receive the promise.
He said after you do the will, you might receive the promise. It ain't even guaranteed, man. Look at Moses. He did the will of the Most High, and he didn't get to the promised land. He was able to see it, to know that the Most High didn't lie about it. But he did the will, and then he said, you know what? I'm going to go my own path real fast. And the Most High said, oops, no promised land for you. No promises for you. So are you staying diligent on the will of the Most High? A lot of the times, man, the Most High don't open up the doors we ask him to open because I can give it to you, but what you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? You asking for too much. Do you have the wisdom to wield what it is you're asking for? I don't know what you're asking for, what you're praying for, and you ain't got to tell me. But ask yourself, I'm gonna ask you this. Are you building yourself up in the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to be able to bear what it is you're asking for? Yahweh, I need a new wife. Okay, well, only husbands get wives. Right? No, not men. Excuse me, not males. Husbands, men that build themselves up as a husband, only they're qualified for wives. Yo, I want children. Well, only men and women that build themselves up into fathers and mothers beforehand are qualified to have children. Or else you're going to have children and you're going to spoil them. You're going to get the wife and spoil her. I want a husband. You're going to get the husband and be a whack wife and not have a husband. You see my point? I want a car. Okay. Car 101, basic maintenance. Right? Oil changes, tires, brakes. You get the car, you drive it 60,000 miles, never change the oil, brakes fail. I don't know what happened. Why'd you ask for the car if you didn't know how to maintain it past 30,000 miles? What I'm getting at is you want something, but are you putting yourself in a position to understand how to use or deal with or maintain what it is that you want? Go to James. Go to James. What is it, 4?
4.
Go to James 4 and verse 1.
James chapter 4 verse 1.
Right?
From whence come war and fighting among you.
And this is why there's the war and fighting within us when we ask and we don't get. Where is it coming from? Well, this scripture addresses a few things. Go ahead.
Come they not hence, even of your lust.
Of your what?
Even of your lust.
So ask yourself this, is what you're asking for, is it a lustful situation that you're asking for? Are you asking out of your lusts? Because if it's a need, the Most High will give it to you. Y'all know that, right?
God.
If it's something that's needed, he said he'll give you all things that are needed for you to abound to every good work. Is the thing that you're asking for to promote the works of the Most High. Read.
That war in your members.
Go ahead.
Ye lust and have not.
And this is why you'll lust. And I'm not saying that this is Sean, but the majority of people, I'm not getting my prayers answered. Well, you lusting after something that you ain't got. Go ahead.
Ye kill and desire to have.
And you'll kill for it. Your desires will drive you. Because you said it's testing your patience. It's testing your faith. Well, if desire starts to overtake your faith, now what? By any means necessary, I'm going to get what I want. Read on.
And cannot obtain. Ye fight and war.
Right?
Yet ye have not.
Read.
Because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not.
Go ahead.
Because ye ask amiss.
Yeah, you'll ask and receive not because you asked wrong. You're going about it the wrong way. You're going about it in the wrong mind state. Are you asking in faith? Well, if your faith, if it's testing your faith, it should. But it shouldn't test your faith to the point of it being diminished. Because if you don't ask in faith, what are you asking in? It's the opposite of faith. Doubt. Wavering. Right? So if you ask wavering and in doubt, you ain't gonna receive nothing. So the longer I go without getting what I'm asking for, the more it wears my faith down. The more I ask, the less I get. The more it wears my faith down. The more I ask, it shouldn't be that. It should be the more I ask, I don't get it, but I remain faithful, hoping, patience, understanding and evaluating myself. Why am I not getting what I want? Am I ready for it? You know what my son wants? I'm pretty sure if I was like, here, son, here's the keys to the car, drive. He'll try. He'll try. He wants to be in that driver's seat badly. My daughter, too. Can they handle the power? Can they even see over the dash? Do they even understand do they even understand a vehicle? Like, it's good for getting you places, but you can kill somebody. Do they know the ins and outs of a car? Like, brakes and this and what this does and what that button does. Who in here has a button in their car, they don't know what it does? That's my point. You know every button on that dash, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do. Be familiar with what it is that you have. But we don't get a lot of the times because you're not putting yourself in a place to be familiar. You just willy-nilly in it, willy-nilly with it, right? Oh, you know, I deserve it. No, you don't. We don't deserve anything. But just remember, if you stay patient, if you examine yourself and understand what is it in me that prevents me from getting this thing. Once you start to move those pieces out the way and understand, the Most High, he'll open up them doors, man. And he'll make a want something that you ain't got to want for. He don't want you to be without. Just remember that. But if it's for the wrong reason and the wrong intent, you ain't gonna get it. Right? And then you came back and asked, are we even supposed to pray? Of course we're supposed to pray. Right? Matthew's the 6th chapter tells you. Therefore, when ye pray, pray in this manner. Our Father who art in heaven, right? So we are supposed to pray. Go to, real quick. What is it? Pray without ceasing? Thessalonians, right?
Yeah.
Somebody get that in Thessalonians, pray without ceasing.
It's 5 and 17.
Right. 5:17.
Time.
Read that.
Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17. Pray without ceasing.
Right. Pray without ceasing. You're supposed to pray all the time. Facing the east, hands up, with a fervent, strong prayer, man. Y'all see that? So, I mean, hopefully that helped out. Yeah, I don't know what the goat comments were about. Did I call myself a goat? Did I call anybody else a goat? We were just talking about goats and sheep, right? Right. Okay. That's why people got to be on time, man, because you'll miss the part of the thing and you hear me say goat and you're like, I'm calling everybody goats. So wrong. Anyway, that's it for class. Any other questions? Oh, man. All right. Well, we thank everybody for joining us. Remember, get your garment money in for the Passover. Cutoff is the 30th of November. Remember, we got Hanukkah coming up, December, what is that? December 18th through 25th. All right, so we're going to try to get one of them days with San Antonio popping off. All right, so any other announcements that I'm missing? No? All right, well, with that, we'd like to say shalom.
Shalom.
We'll see y'all next week.
Chilling up in the kingdom, chilling with Yahweh Shai and all the brothers and the sisters.